So we're a nonprofit industry trade association, about 600 member companies. For us, location is a big piece of, data that helps us understand where somebody is right now, where they're going, where they've been. And for us, it's looking at that data about real-time awareness of a person or thing, and creating relationships between that and media, including digital out of home. So that's why we're here. Any form of media, so billboard, radio, television, digital, out of home, online, mobile, social, everything. The majority of our brands, retailers, restaurant chains, and then location-based technology platform companies, Foursquare, Groupon, media companies that are delivering location like Locomoda, Screenscape, and as far as digital out of home is concerned. So it's a mixture of everything from check-ins to couponing and augmented reality to mapping and GIS and navigation on the far end of the spectrum. So I come from building tech companies, tech startups, build them, sell them, move on. And when I sold the last company, it was in the location space, and you could see this wave of kind of the importance of location data, the ability to hyper target whatever the message is that you want, regardless of medium. And none of the existing trade associations were really focused on that as a function. And so had conversations with them, and we realized that there was this gap in the industry, and the agencies and the brands were calling for sort of research and education and information around it. So that's why we created it. So we're about 3 years into it now. We're growing really, really quickly. Obviously 600 members is a fast clip for any industry association. We're international as well, so we're based in Toronto, but we have chapters in Atlanta, your home, San Francisco, New York, Amsterdam, London, Singapore, so we're all over the place. I think one of the big things that we're really watching right now is this ability to kind of look at, when you're in a building in particular, with screen media in that building, one subset of location is what we call indoor positioning. So when you look at the app community and things like Foursquare, that's all driven off of GPS and a smartphone. It doesn't work so well when you get inside of a building. You got walls and concrete and pillars and things like that block GPS signals. So there's technologies, to figure out where exactly somebody is in a building, like what aisle they're in the grocery store, where they're standing, what display, down to about 3 or 4 feet, we can get accuracy of exact position. And so if we understand that can help us craft a message in real time potentially in terms of what's being displayed on a screen relative to the audience that's near it or in front of it. There's several companies that are looking at it from the analytics space, very few that are actually combining it with screen media in real time. One company that we're big fans of is a company called Rockbot out of San Francisco. And what they've done is they've actually combined a number of different media elements all around location. So it's an app that's similar to Foursquare. It's based on checking in or sharing your location when you arrive at a place. And so they work with some retailers like the Gap. And so when you walk into a store and you check in, it's actually the reinvention of the jukebox. So you get to take a piece of music from your own iTunes library, serve it into the in-store audio system. And so you get to hear the music you want while you're shopping, and then that's further manifested on a digital screen in the store that tells everybody else who's walking around that the song they're hearing right now is ABC from the Rolling Stones, and if you'd like it, download this app too. So you have a combination of mobile plus in-store audio plus digital signage all coming together around location. You can enable your screens with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or technologies that help you create interfaces between people that are walking by or near the screen, from a mobile detection perspective, and combine that obviously with what you're delivering as far as content delivery, on that screen media. So I think we're starting to see this evolution of, a company like iSign Media, for example, up in Canada where I am, they're big into this sort of Bluetooth connected to screen media marketing, right? So, and there's several that are sort of emerging in that space. Captivate and others are sort of testing technologies along those lines. I think when you look at it in sort of mass, sort of public screen media, things like JC Decaux and companies like that over in Europe are doing a fantastic job. In Asia, we're starting to see, big things. I mean, for a long time we've had, lots of usage of screens, like Tesco, for example. We've all seen the thing in the subways in Korea where, you can shop the digital wall that replicates what the grocery store, aisles look like and all that kind of stuff. So I think, that's starting to come to North America, but I think they're way ahead in the European market. The other thing that I think is really interesting about connecting mobile and screen media is you can do things, using the web itself, or mobile web, let's call it. So, for example, we've seen several tests in Stockholm, in the Stureplan, which is their big public square in the middle of Stockholm, where you've got giant screens on the side of buildings, and people are interacting with those screens using their mobile phones as controllers, to play a game. And your phone's like a joystick, and you're playing against other people in the square on a screen. So things like that, and there's no app required. It's strictly done by connecting you to a mobile website and using HTML5's location capabilities. So from our perspective, at the Location-Based Marketing Association, first of all, we define that term location-based marketing as the intersection of people, places, and media. So for us, it's about understanding any place, anybody, wherever they are, and creating a relationship between the media that happens to be in front of them in that place. That's why I said it doesn't matter for us if it's radio or billboard or a screen. It's just understanding that what the medium is and who's there and creating relationships. So we look at a world where every person, place, and thing is geo-tagged and addressable, in this kind of geo-relationship. We're not there yet. In the screen media that we have out there today, even the traditional out-of-home print billboard, is not addressable today in the sense that only the providers, only the operators of those networks really know where those screens are and what content currently sits on them. There's no APIs sitting out there for third-party developers to kind of look at it and go, oh, if I have a mobile app, I can suck this kind of information about what content's sitting where, what ads are running where, and create relationships between that. So for example, let's say you walk into a Starbucks and you share your location by checking in on something like Foursquare. Well, that data is freely available through their API, so we know who's there if we're listening to that conversation, so to speak. But let's say across the street from that Starbucks, there's a digital screen with an ad running for BMW. Well, logic would say that if I'm BMW and I have the ability to know who's across the street, I can convert that mass medium of kind of one-to-many ad to a one-to-one, because I can ping somebody on that mobile device and I can say, hey, since I know you're sipping on your latte right now, look at the screen across the street and do something. Right, so it's that ability to kind of create these relationships. We actually did a research project last year where we took a couple of buses in New York City with digital screens on the side of the bus. And normally you would sell that ad inventory in traditional methods based on normal out-of-home metrics. The route the bus travels, the demographics, the stores it passes, et cetera. But we didn't do that. What we did is when the bus stopped at a red light at an intersection and it's stationary, we gathered in real time all of the check-in data across every platform of who's actually at the intersection. And then we built a real-time aggregate demographic profile, and then we serve an ad in the side of the bus while it's still stationary. And when the bus moves to the next intersection, we do it again. That's a whole different way to look at how you actually deliver content and sell ad space in a digital screen environment. I think they're actually nicely making that transition to, looking at, not buying in silos anymore and starting to look at, not necessarily buying across channel per se, but they're looking at how to leverage an investment in one channel with an investment in another and kind of tying them together. That's sort of like a baby step towards, full on, well, we're buying this and this and this all together, and here's why. So yeah, I think we're getting there. I think the challenge is that we need to really put a focus on as far as the content and programming on how does location fit, how does mobile fit, how does even payments start to fit into the discussion around what you're seeing on a screen, right? And data, right? So from our perspective, we work across that whole ecosystem. Like we have a gazillion payment companies, ISIS, Amex, Square, all these guys are sort of members as well, PayPal, et cetera. So, but for them, they're looking at it as not just a payment, they're looking at a proximity-based transaction, right? That's tied to some location data, right? So I see something on a screen and I want to buy it right now. How do we facilitate that? How do we create that relationship, right? And I think that those are the kinds of things that agencies and brands look at and go, well, it can't just be all the time, an impression anymore. There has to be a transaction that actually facilitates out of it. So I'm doing a seminar this afternoon at 4 o'clock on location-based marketing and mobile and how all that fits with screen media. So all the stuff we just talked about, that's just with real case studies and examples. So, well, we're trying to figure that out. So, I think there's, this is a start of a good partnership. Obviously, we're a media partner in this. We help promote it to our members and such. So, but I think from a content perspective, there's a lot of things we can do together in terms of education and research. So, for me, those are sort of the next steps in sitting down with you guys and figuring out, what is it that we can actually do. Well, in North America, I don't think there's really a show of this size and this kind of focus. I mean, there are some other shows in the industry on a smaller scale that focus on sort of the investment side, like the Digital Investment Conference. There's CETW. There's other conferences in the industry, but in North America, I think this is it as far as the conference for digital out of home, in my view. I think if you look at, in the Asian market, there's a lot going on in digital signage, and there's some great events, and even within bigger non-specific conferences like Communication in Singapore and things like that, there are huge components around digital signage.